In the headlines, Eastern Caribbean States Ambassador to Brussels, Charlene Shillingford-McKimmon, says Dominica is not to blame for EU blacklisting. 300 acres of land to be designated for vegetable production to boost profits in that sector, and Guadeloupe becomes the second French-speaking Caribbean country to join the OECS. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News, back with the details after this.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil. Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, Ambassador of the Eastern Caribbean States to Brussels, Her Excellency Charlene Shillingford-McKimmon, says Dominica's blacklisting by the EU is not justified and efforts are being made to rectify this unfortunate situation. Ambassador McKimmon says Dominica has complied with every request made by the EU and the final decision rests with the EU. She points to some of the flaws in the system, making the point that Dominica is not to blame for the current blacklisting. Here is the ambassador's full statement.
In March of 2018, Dominica was requested by the EU to make changes to its laws and policies. The deadline stated in the EU letter was December 2018. It means that in effect, Dominica was given 9 months to make these changes. Among the laws that needed amending were the Offshore Banking Act, the International Business Companies Act, and the Fiscal Incentives Act. The EU considered that these were preferential regimes and that the Parliament of Dominica needed to approve certain changes. The necessary changes were done to amend the laws in accordance to EU requirements. The EU also requested that Dominica join the Convention dealing with base erosion and profit shifting, also known as BEPS. The OECD granted Dominica membership after the necessary legal and policy changes were made by Dominica. Joining these conventions is a long process that usually begins with an invitation by the OECD, and here you should note that joining is not mandatory. The OECD, as the internationally recognized body governing tax, has not made these mandatory. The EU unilaterally decided to ask countries to join. The important point here is that Dominica did become a member and fulfilled this requirement for the EU. Now, the outstanding matter relates to joining another OECD tax-related convention on the exchange of information for tax purposes. In this case, Dominica again made the necessary legal and policy changes. It submitted its draft laws, the draft act, to the OECD. The OECD accepted the draft law as being in compliance with its requirements, and now OECD countries are in a process of internal consultation before issuing an invitation to Dominica to join. At this stage, there is nothing else for Dominica to do until it hears from the OECD. The EU itself is aware of this and of the OECD internal process. In fact, it is the same EU countries that are also members of the OECD and members of the Tax Convention which need to give Dominica approval to join in order for it to meet the final EU requirement. In this case, we can see that the EU is in fact waiting for itself. This is an irony in the process and one that demonstrates how flawed it is and how difficult it can be for small countries such as ours to try to meet the requirements of multiple governance bodies. It is unfortunate that the EU felt it was necessary to blacklist Dominica, and we are hopeful that the OECD internal consultation process will soon be over and that Dominica will be given the approval to join and therefore to meet the last EU requirement. I felt that it was necessary to share this because you must know that there was nothing else that Dominica could have done in this matter.
On to agricultural developments. 300 acres of land for vegetable production have been deemed necessary to make that sector more profitable. Julian Morris has that story.
Public Sector Investment Program Coordinator in the Division of Agriculture, Kian Stevenson, says research shows more acreage under vegetable production is needed to meet the demand both locally and overseas.
So you'll see crops like eggplants, cucumbers, Christophane, seasoning peppers, pumpkins. I see some of our hucksters and exporters here today. I know these are some of the crops that they frequently request and cannot get in the quantities that they require. Also our local suppliers as well. The 300 acres is not an arbitrary figure. These are things that are worked out based on work with Dexia and other exporters and based on their demand trends and requests. So based on that, this is what we worked out that needs to be established on a continual staggered basis to meet market demands.
As regards the support of the horticulture program, Stevenson says the division hopes to realize 60 acres of land for cultivation of a variety of crops.
We see acres of dashing, yams, tanias, sweet potatoes, ginger, passion fruit, white potatoes, for example. Presently we're in the ginger season, so we're looking into the establishment of ginger. Presently we're establishing white potatoes. We recently brought down a container and distributed white potato seeds to farmers that should equivalent to establishment of about 33 acres of white potatoes. So if we establish this 33 acres in this season and we look for the next season, which would come about September, October later this year, another container that will bring to the 60 acres there.
The division also has a tree crop expansion program in the works with the aim of distributing plants by May.
So under the tree crop restoration, we look at restoring about 30% of the production base destroyed under Hurricane Maria within this financial year, and it's already ongoing. Come in May, we should have avocado plants and citrus available and cocoa, well, all the tree crops I mentioned. Also to name the exotic tree crops like the soursop, the fruit trees, the cherry trees, and all those things. So we intend to have those available to the farming public by the next oncome of the what we call our traditional wet season or our growing season from May to June.
In other top stories, Dominica to have a finalized consumer protection bill before the end of the financial year. The announcement by Trade Minister Ian Douglas as he addressed a national trade exposition at Windsor Park Stadium on Friday as part of World Consumer Rights Day. Douglas says this means consumer rights will at last be legally protected. The expo, themed Trusted Smart Products, attracted members of the private sector and students. The minister says smart products are now an everyday reality and therefore government welcomed the opportunity to expose students to learn more about these products.
Over the last 10 years, the government has been having appreciation for the use of smart devices and building the platforms for safe use of those devices, have embarked on an e-government agenda with the goal of establishing an information-based society. Further, the government has created a platform that fosters the utilization of ICTs to access, create, share and disseminate information and knowledge. The government has also established an ICT Center of Excellence at the Dominica State College. And the purpose of that center is to train ICT professionals in the use of ICT in order to aggressively build an ICT sector. A hub was also established in Grandford with several more hubs to be built within the next financial year. My friends, we are in tune with the ICT needs of this country, which are a platform for the use of smart products to be featured here today.
Douglas says government remains committed to educating the consumer.
This expo, therefore, is timely in allowing the public the knowledge necessary to embrace and engage frontally the platforms which the government has been building and those to be built in the years to come. We understand that the Ministry of Trade, sensitization and education of citizens on their rights as consumers and suppliers, on their responsibilities to their consumers, is an ongoing process. Further, the revised Treaty of Chagaramas, which more popularly is known as the CARICOM Treaty, and the Treaty of Bastia, which is the OECS Treaty, places a responsibility on all of us as member states to put measures in place to protect consumer rights. These measures include education and, of course, putting the legislation in place to govern those rights.
Private sector stakeholders participating in a trade expo for World Consumer Rights Day have been encouraged to continue engaging their clients in information sharing. Director of Trade Mathan Walter told the expo's opening ceremony on Friday, imparting information to the consuming public is critical.
The Ministry of Trade has been celebrating World Consumer Rights Day for 4 years now. We saw it fitting in an effort to keep the public aware of their rights and to allow consumers additional information about their responsibilities to join the rest of the world in celebration of this day. We have a record for collaboration, and so from inception, we ensured that the celebration of this day was a collaborative exercise and effort. We always ensured to give all stakeholders who are related to the theme to be celebrated an opportunity to join us and impart knowledge on that day. This year, we are happy to be joined by not only the sole advocate for consumer rights in Dominica, the Dominica Consumer Protection Association, in the celebration of this year's theme, Trusted Smart Products, but also by numerous business interests who are affiliated in one way or another with smart products. Smart products will always be with us, providing convenience, enjoyment, and security. But education is a continuous process. We need to understand them well so that we can make optimum use of those smart products.
Dominicans who want the experience of super-fast broadband services but don't have fiber-to-the-home connections are being reassured that all is not lost.
Marketing and Communications Officer for Flow, Dominica Ferdinand Frampton, says the company has found a way to provide internet services to its customer base where fiber-to-the-home FTTH is not yet an option.
We've not yet rolled out our fiber to the home to everywhere in Dominica. And people are asking for their services. People want their internet. So in an effort to serve our people and to respond to their needs, we came up with LTE broadband. Now, basically, LTE broadband is broadband that works over our 4G LTE mobile network. And the customers get a box that is really plug and play. It is ready to go. You come into the store through our agents. We do whatever background we need to do in terms of just checking your status with us. And we once that is done, your box is processed, and you can take it and go home with it. And you can just plug and play.
Frampton says the response from customers has been encouraging, and she says those who want internet service but live in areas where there is not yet FTTH or VDSL should visit the Flow store or its partner locations.
And you can use it for internet purposes, for Wi-Fi, for probably watching Netflix, whatever it is that you want to do. I think it's a really good service. People have been giving us very good feedback about it. It is working, and it is working well. And so we want to encourage persons to come into Flow or at our partner locations and find out more about LTE broadband and take advantage of it, especially in the areas. It is more specifically for the areas where we do not have fiber to the home or VDSL2.
To date, Maho, St. Joseph, Bath Estate, Marigot, as well as Glanville and Chance in Portsmouth are the newest areas where Flow has established its FTTH and VDSL services.
You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are,
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
there's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
L'année sim tout partout. Attention si vous êtes homme et bien femme. Visitez place santé pour examiner corps. Ça c'est un nid pour yo ouais si l'année pièce moun au lion qui ni maladie TB et bien maladie sexuelle. En compagnie moun qui ni maladie HIV, P ni TB aussi. Savent qui l'année guérison pour TB. Ou ça vivre en bonne santé même si ou ni maladie HIV. Parlez by docteur. Prends responsabilité. Aidez du bout de sime maladie TB et HIV. Ou agir tout le monde pour examiner corps yo.
Welcome back. A 5-year program is on the cards to revitalize one of Dominica's dying art forms. Cultural icon, playwright, and former UNESCO Caribbean Culture Advisor Alvin Bully says a plan is being developed by the Division of Culture to help breathe an air of sustainability into the island's steel pan culture. Bully says over the years, the steel pan aspect has been seen less and less in society, and steps need to be taken urgently to revive the art.
In the heyday of steel band, there were 5 or 6 full steel bands operating in Dominica. Talking about the 50s, 60s and 70s. And then gradually we began to fall back where steel band was concerned, and we noticed with the falling back of steel band, there was a lot of delinquency, because steel band, one of the main processes that steel band operates with is unity, to work together as a group. 50 people working together as a group, young people working together as a group, and taking them off the corners in many cases, giving them a love for music, and because with that love for music comes the discipline.
2 projects were identified to help revive the steel pan culture in Dominica. The first, a short-term project, involved a 21-member contingent of players from Pan Time Steel Orchestra in St. Lucia, joining a small group of Dominica's Pan in Harmony members to provide steel pan music on the road for Mass Dominic 2019.
The second project is a long-term project to have some pans from Trinidad and Tobago, and Renegade Steel Band from Trinidad and Tobago are prepared to send a side of pans and players for demonstrations again. When they leave the pans with us, and then there'll be a connection with the tuners, the arrangers, and the directors in general who will visit us from time to time. And we expect this to go over approximately a 5-year program of sustained work in pan.
Bully says the training of young people in the art form has already started, but a stronger program needs to be developed.
Already there are a number of people being trained through the Department of Culture. It's called the DIFA, Dominica Institute for the Fine Arts, and that program they've been teaching young people to play the pan, but we need to see it increase. We need to get well-tuned pans, good sounding pans, and a strong program.
And Guadeloupe becomes the second French-speaking Caribbean country to join the OECS. The OECS consists of Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla and Martinique. The ceremony officiating Guadeloupe as an associate member of the organization took place in Basse-Terre, Guadeloupe on Thursday. OECS Chairman Ralph Gonzalez said it was a momentous occasion for the OECS, which would further deepen and broaden regional integration.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are,
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
there's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
To end the news, the headlines again. Eastern Caribbean States Ambassador Charlene Shillingford McKimmon says Dominica is not to blame for EU blacklisting. 300 acres of land to be designated for vegetable production to boost profits in that sector. And Guadeloupe becomes the second French-speaking Caribbean country to join the OECS. Feel free to contact us at news@marfin2k4.com. You can also access or past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.